Hello, welcome in. See you guys are already claiming the daily fragments. You know what? I forgot to rename that, so I'm gonna do that real quick. There we go. Also, thank you for the bits. What the heck? Sorry, I hope my voice doesn't sound different or anything really. I guess I haven't really spoken much since I woke up, so it's not exactly as warmed up as it usually might be. But today we are going to be watching some Backrooms and SCP stuff. I opened about 10 videos, about like 10 to 15 minutes ish each, I believe, or less. And while it might not exactly be like just dive deep, like going over lore exactly, like it'll be fun. And these are channels that I have subscribed to in the past. They're cool channels. Yes, hi Tachi, welcome in. Welcome on, guys. Anyways, should we get started? I freaking god. Ah. Crowd response is impressive. I think it's time to get started. Yeah, we're doing something a little different from the other reacts before. Ah, frick! I forgot to update the category and title. Frick! No! Ah! Frick! I'm stupid! Stupid! Don't yell at me. SS lad! I'm an idiot. I forgot to change my settings in OBS before I hit go live. will kill you the hardest. Imagine. I'm a pass on that. I can't believe I screwed up that bad. I completely forgot to set my stream stuff up. It's too late to reset. Ugh. I feel stupid. I need to go back to doing it before the year comes. It was much more efficient. And it was much more reliable. This is lame, but I can't really think anything better right now. I can't believe I forgot to set that up. I'm so stupid. Gmail, I need to know all this stuff for no reason. I've been so lazy. Especially since I'm gonna have to watch tutorials at the Wasu. I feel so stupid, but I have updated the title and category. So let's get started. I'm gonna start the first video. This is the first four are 1, 2, 3. What? Guess I miscounted. The first 5 are Broogli on backroom stuff, and then the last 4 will be SCP Explained. Let's go!
Hello. Today in this video, I'm gonna be explaining Backrooms level 826, which is better known as the Sea of Bones. Usually when I talk about horrifically terrifying levels in the Backrooms, they are pretty bad, and I mean it every single time. They are horrible, like Johnny's dinner party, Rot in Jane, the lobotomy level, all those places that you never want to go to. Those are not good levels. They're terrifying, they're dangerous, they're not safe for human life. But the level that I'm explaining today, it might actually be worse than all those for human life specifically. And I mean, the name kind of gives it away, but still, sit back and relax, lock in, and get ready to hear all about level 826, aka the Sea of Bones. Also, leave a like on this video for more episodes just like this one. If it gets 5,000 likes, I'll release another 1-hour video with more deadly levels. Please?
Please.
Level 826 has been classified with a dead zone rating because of its many hazards, uninhabitable environments, and as well as their unreliable exits. Quite frankly, spoiler alert, you pretty much can't. Something that makes this level very unique is that it can be accessed only through sleeping. So the entrances and the exits, they don't exist in the mortal plane like normal levels, yet somehow your physical body is still in the level even though you're dreaming. I'll talk more about the science on that later. For a number of reasons, this makes level 826 extremely dangerous and extremely unpredictable because you can't really control your actions while you're being asleep. If someone falls asleep and their body ends up in this level's domain, they'll be greeted with what appears to be an infinite pile of bones stretching out for as far as anyone can see. Think about it like you're at a trampoline park in real life, and you know how they have those foam pits with the big foam blocks? That's how this level is forever, except there's no foam pit or block, it's just decayed skeletons and bones. Now, a little side note, for the video, it's very hard to find images that relate to this level to showcase like a sea of bones. Everything that I can find is AI generated, and I hate AI.
Is it lobster, Jesus, what the hell is this?
As you know. So I went to Photoshop and I painstakingly made the images that you're seeing today, and I placed every single skull in the spot that it is, just to have some sort of visual for you all. You're welcome. But anyways, the bones that make up the expanse appear to be human in origin, which is a scary thought, but there are other types of bone structures that have been seen. Some people claim they're from unknown creatures and entities that aren't documented. Whatever the case is, the majority of the bones here are just human skulls and other various parts. Think of that, but literally just as far as you can see and as deep goes. That's all the level is. Walking on top of these infinite pile of bone and hair is very treacherous because some of the bones are broken and sharp, and some are pointed in a certain way where you could literally, you know, inject it into your own body. Some of the bones will shift and sway, and they'll open up huge caverns and crags that you can fall into, which you don't want to do that. So be very careful where you step, and make sure that you're very cognizant of where you're going so you don't fall down a giant bone mountain.
That stuff can go to hell. It should die. Very hard.
Or something. The sky in level 826 is absent of any forms. And what I mean by that is there are no stars, there's no suns, there's no cloud cover, there's no moon, there's nothing. Instead
Did
is
I hit the Oh, assume. And then just assume this is just pretend this is the face that I was making. God damn it.
you're very cognizant of where you're going to do that. So be very careful where you step, and make sure that you're very cognizant of where you're going so you don't fall down a giant bone mountain or something. The sky in level 826 is absent of any forms. And what I mean by that is there are no stars, there's no suns, there's no cloud cover, there's no moon, there's nothing. Instead, it's just stuck in a perpetual brightness that has no origin. On top of this, the level is extremely humid and very hot, causing this sweltering desert kind of vibe. One of the major dangers of exploring this place is the possibility of heat stroke, since you're gonna have to work really hard not to fall down giant chasms of bones or step into holes and gouge yourself. Your heart rate's gonna be increasing more than it normally would, and you couple that with the insane heat from the level and the humidity and the treacherous environment, that is a recipe for heat stroke, or worse, which is real stroke. But because of the environment that this level displays, the rate of decomposition here is extremely high. So if you somehow have food on your person when you come here through your dream, it'll spoil at an alarming rate. The same goes for water and pretty much every other thing that comes here. It seems that the level itself can affect things on a cellular level, making them decompose faster than any natural thing should be allowed to. And yes, this carries over to humans as well, and that means the longer you stay inside of the level, walking on top of this expanse of bones, the more your body will begin to decay from the inside out, because your cells are essentially exploding in mass and they're not regenerating. Now you might be asking yourself at this point in the video, Broogli, you said this level is only accessible through dreaming. So if that's the case, how does your body get affected? Well, it's a good question you just asked there, but let me explain it in the way that the page describes it. Everyone's been there before. It's been late at night, you get a random pain in your body somewhere, and you start freaking out, and you look up what's wrong with me, and the internet says you have 10 different types of cancer, and you also are about to have a heart attack. And I'm sure most of you have experienced that. You know it's not a very fun time. But instead of freaking out and getting in your own mind, you can put your mind at ease using today's sponsor, ZocDoc. ZocDoc makes it easy for you to find the right doctor that fits your needs. Very appointments made. You're gonna be able to find something that fits what you need. ZocDoc, or you can scan the QR code. Thank you for sponsoring this video, and let's get back to it, shall we?
Sorry, Broog. Sorry, Broog.
Somehow the existence of this level, level 826, physically can only be entered while a person is in REM sleep elsewhere in the backrooms. But when your brain enters the level's boundaries, it also pulls your physical body from wherever you're at right now into this place. Think of your brain as a key, and once that key is shoved into the lock of a door and then turned...
Rude. Shut up, nerd.
turned, it'll open that door and you can walk through it. Which means that your brain is the key that opens the door, and behind the door is this level, and once your brain opens it, your body can walk through to the level. Wow, I almost sounded a little bit smart there, didn't I? The only landmark of note in this entire sea of bones is somewhat of a really unknown thing. We're not really sure about it, but it looks to be a massive bottomless pit with a huge statue coming out of the middle of that pit, and atop the statue is a human hand sculpture. The hand is made of stone, and it's connected to the pillar that goes down into the pit, so far down, by the way, that you can't see the bottom. It's actually unknown what's down there. We have no clue if it's endless or a void or what the significance of the hand is. There's just a giant stone hand statue in the middle of a pit somewhere here. The problem with this is we don't really know where it's at because the level does appear to be infinite as far as humans can understand. There's no maps of it, no borders exist, so no one actually knows how to spot this pit. You kind of just have to run up on it when you least expect it, which makes it kind of dangerous. The entirety of the Sea of Bones is honestly an allegory or a metaphor for the Backrooms itself, right? The longer you walk around it, the more deadly things become, the more you physically decay. It's a horrible place to be, and that's pretty much what this level is as well. And when you come here, whether you do it on purpose or by accident, all you're going to be doing is walking up and down huge mounds of bones and hair and tissue with nothing else to look at. It's the same things over and over and over again, and it's monotonous and it's boring, but you're gonna have to lock in really hard if you want to survive this level and get back and wake up from wherever you're sleeping. The way to do that is very complicated, and I'm gonna try to explain it in the best way possible, so just bear with me for 2 seconds. Now, as I said, to enter the level, you have to be dreaming, and you have to get REM sleep to get sent here. And when the person's body does get sent here, when you walk through that proverbial door, the possessions that you have around your body and on your body will follow you into the level. And on top of that, any injuries that you sustain while in the Sea of Bones, they will be with you if or when you escape. So it's not like you're actually in a dream world. You're in a real place, and it's really affecting you. So my first kind of piece of advice for you would be, if you're gonna sleep anywhere in the back rooms, make sure that you have some sort of like water or food always on you. That way, if the chance of you getting sent here happens, if the worst happens, then you might be able to survive a little bit longer. Now, there is no listed exit to the level, as I said, which is kind of a huge part why the Sea of Bones is a dead zone difficulty, of course. But that's not to say there is no way out of it. At the bottom of the levels page, there's a poem or short story of sorts, something like that. It's about a paragraph long, and I'm gonna go ahead and read that to you right now. This might shed some light on the Sea of Bones and how you might escape it. As you fall deeper into the abyss, a cacophony of voices fills your ears. You can hear them calling towards you, so many that you've forgotten. So many that you've left, a world away, a lifetime away. Only a few stand out, stronger than the rest, clearer. These are the ones that you'll never forget, never stop mourning, never move on from. You see their faces begging you to save them. Is this hell? Is this heaven? You'll find out in time, but for now, you're just a visitor. One form stands out from the sea of souls. It's different from the rest. While the others are just fragments of their former self, this one is whole, a caretaker. It watches you without eyes, moving in ways that you cannot comprehend. The voices struggle to break free, but they cannot return. This is the conclusion for them, but there is no end as the figure moves closer to you. You can feel it seeping into your soul, guiding it out. You try to call to the voices, but they can no longer hear you. You will be with them soon enough. You wake up. So that was that little short story, kind of creative writing that's at the bottom of this page. It sort of almost hints to the fact that what you're hearing and experiencing isn't actually real, and that when you wake up, somehow, you just wake up. So what you did experience might actually be physical and in the realm of normality, but once you wake up from your dream or whatever, you might be able to escape. It also seemed like you're falling, or the person in that story was falling, perhaps through that infinite pit where the statue was, and at the bottom of the pit is just the idea of waking up. That's how you actually wake up, is by jumping in the pit. That's my official theory. You heard it here first, folks. If you want to wake up and survive the Sea of Bones, you gotta jump down the pit. Theories on this level's existence range.
Jump in the pit. Jump in the pit. Jump in the pit. Jump in the pit. Do it now. Just jump in the pit. Oh, I'm gonna find a different pit.
From it being a place where every wanderer that passes on the backrooms is sent, to it being a level where the a place bones, you gotta jump down the pit. Theories on this level's existence range from it being a place where every wanderer that passes on in the backrooms is sent, to it being a level where the victims of the Bone Thief entity are sent when they consume them. If you don't know what the Bone Thief is, I made videos on it, but essentially it's a creature that consumes wanderers and then takes their bones and spits out their skin, and we don't really know where the bones go, so it could be here. And maybe it's an exit to real life. Maybe the pit is not an exit from the level, rather it actually lets you escape to the earth. Whatever the case is, I want to hear what you have to theorize about it down in the comments below. And while you're down there, while you're doing that, drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. That was my explanation of level 826, the Sea of Bones. Hopefully you got something out of it. I hope you had a great day wherever you're at. I apologize for my voice. I kind of lost it while recording today, and it's cool. I had a decent day. I'm pretty tired, but I think we're gonna survive. I hope you all did enjoy the video. I know there wasn't much visual stuff. There wasn't many pictures I could get, since all of kind of the Sea of Bones would be AI generated if you look that up. So I just created what I could. Hopefully it worked. If you want to see more videos like this and more videos from me, check out Spoogli, my other channel. I upload all the time on there, and my Instagram and my TikTok, or you can just subscribe here on Broogli to keep up with all the stuff going on. With all that said, I will let you go, and I'll see you wherever I see ya. Bye. To keep up with all the stuff going on. With all that said,
Okay. So what if we think of the Sea of Bones? That sounds awful. That sounds awful. Sounds mildly unpleasant. You know, just a little bit. Just a little bit unpleasant. Feels like home. Well, I don't know what your home is, but maybe get that checked out. That doesn't sound healthy. Hello? Eyeballs. Hello. That's really an expression. Oh, frick. How the hell did that get? What the frick? What? These are on separate pages. What the hell? I was just moving position. What the hell? Or where it came from? Not sure. What are you even talking? You know what? Whatever. We move on.
4 or 5 years. Over the last 4 or 5 years, I've talked about my fair share of disturbing, inhuman, and uncanny entities, all from the Backrooms lore. It's one of my favorite things to do. Human and 5 years, I've talked about my fair share of disturbing, inhuman, and uncanny entities, all from the Backrooms lore. It's one of my favorite things to do, and it also seems that you all really enjoy it, and who doesn't love talking about scary things? But today, I want to introduce you to an entity only known as the Abomination. This Backrooms entity is highly disturbing, and even though the descriptions I'm going to give about it will be fleeting and non-explicit, viewer discretion is still advised. I have to say that for YouTube because they might ban the video. It's about to get disgusting, and if you're ready for it, please leave a like on this video, and let's get into this explanation of this horrible creature, shall we? Quote, "This entity exists in a state between life and death, a horrific immortality," end quote. Now that is a statement taken from an alleged witness of this creature from somewhere deep inside of the Backrooms. That witness saw the Abomination and somehow survived an encounter with it, which, as you'll go on to see throughout this video, that is an extremely rare feat that not many people have the luxury of experiencing. The Abomination is a large skeletal creature that appears to be mangled in many ways. If someone is indeed unfortunate enough to encounter the entity, it is extremely unlikely that they will survive that encounter. There is only one instance of this creature that's been documented, so it's not a species of entity or a type, it is one specific being, although it has been seen across several different levels in the lore, which means it must be able to travel through them with ease. I'll discuss all that in a second. First, let's talk about the entity's physical description. This is the initial image of the abomination taken by one of those rare survivors of the entity. Visually, it appears to be a vaguely humanoid-shaped thing that's been twisted and warped and contorted in unnatural ways. Its bones and its muscles, or whatever those things are stretched out, and its bones are sharpened and pointed upwards from its spine and from its legs. From Wanderer's rough estimates, the creature stands at just over 3 meters, or just under 10 feet tall, and 6 meters, or 19 feet long. For reference, and to compare those numbers to real-life objects, this entity is the exact same size of an RV Sprinter van, with their heights and lengths pretty much being identical. And if that doesn't sound insane enough, this creature is as long as the average male killer whale. It's big, and it's deadly, I will tell you that. Fleshy matter that appears to be muscle tissue, or something similar, is stuck all over the bony body of the abomination, and it gives it this pale brown and yellow coloration. That strange muscle connective tissue is wrapped around the bone fragments, except where the bones are sharpened, then they poke through. The top of the monster's body is significantly more filled out with meat and tissues than the lower half, as the bottom cavity is pretty much empty and hollow. Attached to the hunched body of the abomination are around 8 to 10 limbs. Now these are all misshapen and are bent out in.
Sorry, there was an ad break. So, I want to give it a second. Second over. We're going to give it another 25. Another 25. I'm going to give it like another 25 seconds. Or maybe don't. Sorry. Anyways, home page. What the frick? What the frick? Well, I was right. This is interesting. This is definitely interesting. This is interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Significantly more filled out with meat and tissues than the lower half, as the bottom cavity is pretty much empty and hollow. Attached to the hunched body of the abomination are around 8 to 10 limbs. Now these are all misshapen and they're bent out in odd directions, which give it an unnaturally jerky walking motion when it runs or when it moves, as if it needed anything else to be heinous. Just imagine this bony flesh blob jerkily walking at you down a tight corridor in the backrooms. And did I mention that it's the size of a killer whale? The abomination uses several of these different appendages to grab prey when it's hunting, which I will explain its hunting patterns in a second. Bear with me. The head of the abomination is just vaguely similar to a humanoid skull, although it does appear to be more flesh-like and less bony than the rest of its body. It's also of a flatter shape, and its jaws are lined with sharp, jagged teeth, rather than the teeth that we have that are not meant to tear people limb from limb. Where eyeballs would normally be in a skull, there are hollowed out pits that look like sunken eye sockets in the abomination's head. Beneath that are dry cuts or slits where a nose would normally be, and despite there being no ears or eyes to speak of, the entity can hear and see extremely well. Across its back, the abomination has what I'm going to call spines running downward towards its tail. These are very sharp, and they're used sometimes to aid in hunting prey, and also in its own natural defense from other entities, but that doesn't really matter. I say all of that physical description just to get across the fact that this thing looks wrong. It looks incorrect, mangled, like it crawled out of a Lovecraft book or something. But now that you know what it looks like, I want to discuss in
I'm gonna assume this is the author. I was like, why is he showing just some guy that he's
all out of a Lovecraft book or something. But now that you know what it looks like, I want to discuss in depth its behavior, how it interacts with things around it, and how it hunts, because somehow it will continue to get worse for you, dear viewer.
Oh.
For an unknown reason, the preferred food for this entity, of course, is wanderers, or facelings. They have been known to eat facelings when there are no wanderers around to consume. And as such, the abomination is constantly on the prowl for more of these things to eat. It seems that the only force that drives its existence is its hunger and appetite for human people. Since it is so large and designed to annihilate anything, it kind of has a killer whale type mindset with its prey too, in that it seems to get some sort of sick enjoyment out of toying with whatever it's about to consume. There appears to be some kind of malice and a level of intellect that allows this thing to be happy when it's causing chaos and, ending its victims. And that's exactly what it does. It plays with its food. When the abomination approaches what it perceives to be as prey, it will toy with it. It will knock it around or slightly attack it and chase around the wanderer for as long as it sees fit, filling the victim with terror and horror as it sees will toy with it. It'll knock it around or slightly attack it and chase around the wanderer for as long as it sees fit, filling the victim with terror and horror as it sees this gigantic killer whale-sized bone monster about to eat it. Now, aiding in this effort of toying with its food is the fact that the abomination paralyzes prospective victims in fear just by looking at them. It's not that it's so scary that it happens, it's that this is a genuine effect that the entity gives off. It's very lethal, and it makes wanderers and facelings alike lose the ability to control their bodies and their motor functions. So if you make direct eye contact with this entity while it's hunting you, you're gonna go limp, and it's gonna be able to attack you with ease. Now, one can break out of this paralyzing trance with enough focus, so pretty much if you lock in, you might survive. However, the intense negative feelings may linger for some time after prolonged exposure, and it might render victims in this permanent catatonic state of extreme fear and anxiety. Just try not to make eye contact with this thing, as just a good general form of advice. Regardless, if the wanderer almost gets away while it's being hunted and toyed with, or if it somehow escapes, or even if the wanderer looks like it's gonna get away, the abomination will stop playing with its food and it will strike directly to destroy its target. Now, in this scuffle, in this fight, if you fight back and somehow cause damage to the abomination by defending yourself, the wounds on the creature will only last for a short time, actually less than a few minutes, although deeper damage might take a few hours to heal up. But no matter the case, no weapons have seemed effective when combating this entity. Now, the ways in which the creature actually does the deed, so to speak, range widely. Again, I can't get too graphic into anything since YouTube would banish this video from your homepage if I did, but I will describe the ways that the entity eats its food, so to speak, the best I can. Sometimes, the entity will remove the craniums from its prospective victim to eat whole, saving whatever's below that for later on. Other times, it will use a couple of its many arms to pick up its food and smash it around on various surfaces nearby, pulverizing it. And sometimes, if it's really smash it around on various surfaces nearby, pulverizing it. And sometimes, if it's really feeling aggressive, it'll fling whatever it has onto its spiny back, and it will skewer them that way like a living kebab. Again, I'm sorry that I can't get into all the gory detail. YouTube doesn't like that. The abomination seems to use
YouTube is a coward.
messier and messier methods of hunting with humans as time goes on. Whereas when it hunts facelings or things like that, it will swiftly finish them for the most part. Use messier and messier methods of hunting like that. The abomination seems to use messier and messier methods of hunting with humans as time goes on. Whereas when it hunts facelings or things like that, it will swiftly finish them for the most part. It doesn't get that sick enjoyment like it does from hunting good old people. The entity has also a very disturbing rotation of vocalizations that it might make, and these vocalizations are also known to strike fear into the people that hear them, and also they might be your only chance of survival at the same time, because you might hear the entity coming before it gets to you. But usually this is a sort of guttural snarling or squelching sound. Whatever it is, it's described as unnerving and paralyzing in its horror. A unique thing about how the entity behaves is that it's actually passive to other creatures that it might encounter. So if it walks down the hallway and passes a bone thief or something, it's not going to attack it, unless that entity is attempting to steal its prey or eat its catch. At that point, it doesn't really matter what it is, a smile or a partygoer. The abomination will not hesitate to destroy all of them. The entity has been seen in several of the deeper levels inside of the backrooms, and although on the page there are no listed levels where encounters have, happened, we can assume that because it feasts on wanderers and facelings, it would need to be on levels where they both exist in various high numbers. Although it can move around to different levels, it's probably just safe to say that it exists inside indoor levels where people go. Now, unfortunately, all the page says is that, quote, it's been reported in a myriad of levels, end quote. So we never really know what exact places this thing is in. However, most people aren't going to ever experience an encounter with it because it's kind of a rare thing. But if you do, I kind of feel bad for you, to be honest. You're screwed!
You're screwed!
I kind of feel bad for you, to be honest. You're screwed!
I couldn't feel bad for yours. You're screwed! You're screwed!
Obviously, an entity of this magnitude and ability and its aura can't really hide for long, so it was only a matter of time before its discovery and documentation. And on top of that, reports of the creature go back for many, many years, and whispers of its terrorizing of various places in the backrooms have actually been circulating forever. As far back as documentation about the backrooms goes, there's been mentions of this gigantic fleshy amalgamate that consumes individuals in deep levels, with a ferocious appetite on top of it, because it really just seems to despise humanity. The entity remains elusive enough to where you're not going to see it often. It's not going to be something you run into randomly, but it's just common enough to cause chaos so that it's annoying. It's kind of like acne when you're an adult. Acne really doesn't happen much after you leave the teenage years, but when you're an adult and when you get pimples, it's very annoying. You heard it here first, folks. The abomination entity is the acne of the backrooms. And I came up with that live while recording this video, by the way, so claps for me. Theories about this creature's existence and nexus point are widespread and confusing, to say the least. There are no other things like this inside of the back.
Specifications?
Theories about this creature's existence and nexus point are widespread and confusing, to say the least. There are no other things like this inside of the backrooms. There's not one single thing that has a lust to hate humanity and to consume whatever even looks like humanity in the form of facelings. It's just the singular entity that's doing it. So it's really impossible to pinpoint the first instance of seeing it. The creature doesn't seem to ever age, and nothing really can do damage to it. No other entities have seemed to be able to take it down, so I guess it's safe to say that it's immortal, or as close to being immortal as you could literally be. On that same note, there's a really strange thing that's said to be attributed to the entity, and it's known as the immobile immortality theory, and it really kind of strikes this extra sense of dread on top of an already horrific being. I'm going to read the theory to you directly from the page because I feel like that's the best way for you to understand it, then I'm going to talk about my thoughts on it. Quote, according to this theory, while the wounds that the abomination inflicts upon its victims initially seem fatal, the victims instead enter a permanent state of immobile immortality immediately after the death of their bodies. In this state, they remain alive in some way, yet are trapped inside of their own mutilated bodies. They cannot move, yet they cannot die. Thus, the tumorous masses that grow on them exist in a similar state of immortality. It is often debated between followers of the immobile immortality theory whether or not these deceased victims of the abomination are still truly conscious, and if so, whether they retain any awareness of their surroundings. While the corpses evidently have no function left at all, some argue that the same anomaly that keeps them alive also preserves some, if not all, of their senses, possibly all of their body, due to there no longer being any working organs to specifically relay them, end quote. So you just heard that theory, and as it states, there might be some kind of witchy magic stuff going on here, because somehow wanderers might be alive in a sort of purgatory after being mangled by this entity, which adds, like I said, another horrific layer to this already terrifying being. And it literally might be, after reading that, one of the worst ways to go out inside the backrooms. You're in this permanent purgatory after being shredded to pieces by a gigantic abomination. The Abomination is an entity that people seem to be afraid of talking about in the lore. It's sort of like the boogeyman inside of everything I read about, and it's almost as if you speak about it and then it appears. It's one of those type of things, like Voldemort from Harry Potter. It acts as a horrifying reminder of how dangerous this place actually is, and that you never truly know what's lurking inside of the different levels that you've traveled through the Backrooms complex. Whatever the case is, the Abomination should never be approached, never walk down dark corridors, and try to go around places with more than one person. Don't go alone, because you might be an easy meal if you do. And again, one of the only ways to know if the thing is near you is if you hear gurgling. Turn and run the other way. You don't want to be eaten by this thing. You don't want to be consumed or put into a catatonic immortality space where you can't move, but you're fully conscious and you just got mangled. You don't want that either. That's it for the video. I do hope you enjoyed my explanation of this creature. I try to make this one a little bit more in depth, a little bit more long and accentuated, and I really am trying to make that with all my videos. So again, please leave a like if you did actually enjoy. Don't leave a like if you didn't enjoy. I tell you this every video, but don't do that, okay? Only if you liked it. Thank you so much for everything you do. If you want more content from me, again, you can check out this channel. I upload 3 times a week almost, and my other channel, Spoogli. I upload a lot on there as well. I have a TikTok and I have an Instagram where you can support me as well. If you make that with all my videos. So again, please leave a like if you did actually enjoy. Don't leave a like if you didn't enjoy. I tell you this every video, but don't do that, okay? Only if you liked it. Thank you so
What he said.
much for everything you do. If you want more content from me, again, you can check out this channel. I upload 3 times a week almost, and my other channel, Spoogli. I upload a lot on there as well. I have a TikTok and I have an Instagram where you can support me as well. I upload short form content of cool stuff on those platforms too. Thank you so much for everything that you do. Leave a comment below telling me if you want more entity coverage like this, or if you want more specific levels to talk about, or other internet horror, analog horror stuff. I'm doing all of it on the channel and you all are loving it, so that's pretty neat. Thank you for everything you do. With all that said, I will see you in the next video. Bye.
That's some interesting music to throw over this at the end. Okay, so what do we think of the Abomination? That sounds horrible. Fight the backwards boogeyman! You die. You die.
Today I want to talk about...
Oh, 7. No, I'm just going to die. Oh, 7.
Today I want to talk about one of the most nostalgic Backrooms levels in all of the lore. It's level 117, aka Math Class, and I covered it on the channel a little over 4.5 years ago. And I just could not pass up the opportunity to recover it this year for Broogmas, since I'm going through the levels in order. It's one of my all-time favorite levels, and I hope you're excited to see it again, because let me tell you, it is genuinely one of my favorites of all time. And leave a like if you want to see me recover or re-explain more of these old Backrooms levels
If anyone ever even knew!
that I've already done. And without further ado, let's get into the explanation of level 117, and let's see what happened to this level over the last 4 years. Of level 117, and let's see what...
Is that freaking... What is that from? I want to say it's like PBS or something, whatever that even stands for. What is this? And why does it seem vaguely familiar?
happened to this level over the last 4 years. Now, before we start, I do want to say that obviously again, because let me tell you, it is genuinely one of my favorites of all time. And leave a like if you want to see me recover or re-explain more of these old Backrooms levels that I've already done. And without further ado, let's get into the explanation of level 117, and let's see what happened to this level over the last...
I don't even know what it is. I just kind of like seen it, heard of it, something like that. I don't know if I've ever actually seen it. Did you it or not?
Last 4 years. Now, before we start, I do want to say that obviously this is not the modern day
I'm surprised they even recognized it.
level 117. The actual level 117, that obviously this is not 4 years. Now, before we start, I do want to say that obviously this is not the modern day level 117. The actual level 117 as of
It's just a little green kid. Yeah, essentially.
2025 December. It is Isabel's Gorge. That's the name of the level, and it honestly looks awesome. I'm probably going to cover that level at some point, but just because today is such a nostalgic day, I really wanted to talk about the old level 117. This level was archived over 3 years ago, but I want to bring it back from the grave, and I want to talk about it here, and hopefully shed light to the new people in the fandom. Maybe they didn't know about it. This is the OG level of level 117. But with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and hop into the explanation. Backrooms level 117, also known as Math Class, has been given a Class 4 survival difficulty rating for being unsafe, not secure, and the home of various entities that you probably wouldn't want to encounter. The level consists of what appears to be an infinite number of connected rooms and hallways that resemble classrooms from real life. Each of these different areas looks very similar in design, but they all have the slightest alterations between them. Like one classroom might have something written on the chalkboard, and the others might have chairs on the desks or different colored chairs. One might be dark, one might be full of decorations, one might be a kindergarten classroom. It just depends on how far you walk through the different sequence of rooms, and that'll change wherever you go. The lights in these various classrooms and in the level as a whole are exactly like the ones you probably had in your school building from real life. They're these long halogen lights, and they give a dull brightness to most parts of the level, but they are completely burnt out in other parts, leaving some of the level in pitch black. The day and night cycle of level 117 is strange too. It's not the usual 24-hour cycle that we have. This one is 18 hours in length, and 7 of those are daytime, while 11 of them are nighttime. The way you're going to be able to tell when it is nighttime is that the lights in the whole level will turn off the second it happens. See, an interesting thing about this level is that you cannot see outside. The windows, they lead to nothing. It's just pitch blackness out there. So there's no sun or moon or anything to indicate time. The only way you can tell what time it is, like I said, when the lights switch off. That's how you're going to start the 11 hours of darkness. And that means it's nighttime. When this nighttime shift happens, those lights flicker off. This is when the janitor entities will begin to start roaming the halls and the different rooms of this level, and as well as a few other entities like Smilers. But perhaps the most famous entity from this level is known as Mr. Freeman. Again, if you're an OG, you definitely remember Mr. Freeman, but I'm going to go ahead and explain all 3 of those entities that I just talked about right now. Mr. Freeman can rarely be seen during the daytime hours of this level inside of various classrooms. What he's doing in these classrooms is he's teaching courses. He's talking about algebra and geometry, and although his classrooms are completely empty, he's literally teaching to no one, he looks like he's loving it. He has a great time. He's very exuberant talking about math. Physically, he appears to be a balding, scholarly man of average height and weight with round glasses and a suit on. He seems to really love what he does. He loves talking about mathematics, and he's always giving these speeches and these lectures about it. He's friendly and sociable with wanderers, and he's very good at conversating. He loves talking to people, and oftentimes, if you do find him, he'll be happy to let you sit down in his class and listen to whatever he's teaching. However, he does not like being interrupted, so do not interrupt his lecture, or we don't know what's gonna happen, but he just doesn't like it. Mr. Freeman is one of those classic entities that probably some of you didn't know existed, but the real ones, the OGs, the old heads in the community, they remember Mr. Freeman. The next sort of entity in this level are called janitors, and these are very level specific here. They are the most common type of
all these basics, but back rooms. We'll
entity you're going to encounter, and they look to be a shadowy humanoid figure wearing navy blue. They carry flashlights and brooms and trash cans and other janitorial supplies sometimes, and they are just that. They look to be janitors. They don't really react if you walk past them or look at them, but if you get in their way or you get too close, what they'll do is they'll kind of expand their shadowy body and engulf you inside of them, essentially consuming you. Now, it's unknown what happens if somebody gets engulfed caused by a janitor here. If they live or die or what, we have no idea. But we do know that after it happens, the entities just go right back to cleaning and monitoring the level. So just for being smart, you probably shouldn't go wandering around the level at nighttime because that's when the janitors come out. They start arriving the seconds the lights flick off. When the lights do flick off and you're inside of a classroom or hallway, you need to find a classroom itself, you need to shut the door, and you need to sleep under a desk or in a closet or something to get you away from a possible janitor attack or a smiler attack. Smilers are also, of course, common in this level because some parts of it are dark and it all gets dark at nighttime, and that's of course when smilers come out too. Just be smart with it, use flashlights to scare them away, and you should be okay. This level is actually pretty claustrophobic to many people who have been here. The windows that would normally look outside of a real classroom, they don't lead anywhere, it's just a void and blank. And the monotony of the entire place just being different rooms, slightly, ever so slightly changed over and over. It's been known to cause people insanity for those that aren't used to it, and it might not be nice to be trapped inside of a school until you can escape. It might not be very fun. But if you want to enter this level and you want to go back to these classrooms and experience this nostalgic level, you can do so back on level 83 by walking into a classroom in a school there. To exit, you can go through the different classrooms until you find a specific one that has a cabinet with a calculator labeled cabinet. If you find the calculator cabinet, you can open it up and you can...
Sorry, what?
But if you want to enter this level and you want to go back to these classrooms and experience this nostalgic level, you can do so back on level 83 by walking into a classroom in a school there. To exit, you can go through the different classrooms until you find a specific one that has a cabinet with a calculator labeled cabinet. If you find the calculator cabinet, you can open...
Calculator labeled...
Open it up and you can no clip through it and you'll be sent to level 4. Now it's also rumored that no clipping through a wall here might take you to level negative 190, but I wouldn't do that if I were you because level negative 190 is not very safe, but I'll leave it up to you. Level 117 is truly...
Oh yeah, I forgot. There are negative levels. They are, I believe he said that they are more glitchy and unstable.
One of those fan favorite levels for many people in the Backrooms fandom. It's a cult classic. It's cozy but terrifying and lonely. It's dreadful at the same time it is relaxing. It's very strange, but that's what makes a good level. You have to have a mix of the good vibes and the scariness and the horror and the loneliness. It's got to be this perfect blend, this perfect mixture, and that's what I love about level 117. You're just walking through different classrooms. They're empty, there's nobody there but you and maybe Mr. Freeman. And walking around them, you see different school supplies, you get this trip down memory lane because you used to be in schools that look just like this, and you're trapped with nothing but your wits and your own knowledge to keep you alive. But I think it's safe to say that even though level 117 is gone, even though it's no longer a part of the official lore, it still remains inside of our headcanon. It's a fan favorite, the people's champion, and I really hope you enjoyed my explanation of it 5 years later almost. It's been like 4 years and a few months since I talked about it first, and I just love going back and talking about these older levels. Again, if you do want me to go over more old levels that have been deleted, I'll do it. Just leave a like and it can be our little secret. I know some people probably won't like that, but I do, and if you do, I'll make it as well. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you did enjoy this explanation, like I said, please do drop a like on the video. It really helps me out. If you want more content from me, check out Spoogli, check out my Instagram and TikTok as well. And I hope you had a great day, and I really do hope you're enjoying Broogmas. It's almost over by now, but it's been a great year so far, and I hope you're excited for Christmas. Thank you for everything you do. I love and appreciate each and every single one of you. With all that said, I'll see you in the next video on any of my channels, any of my platforms. I'll see you there.
That is not the time of now. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, just the concept of like deleted levels, that could be a good video for him at some point. He just does that. Would you say that was indeed something like what you said about these basics but backrooms? Would you still say that? Would you still say that? Sorry, forgive me if my commentary or voice is lacking. I don't really know what to say, and even then, I'm tired. Yee? He said yee. Okay, it's Baldi's basics.
In this video, I will be discussing
Baldi's basics and backrooms confirmed.
In this video, I will be discussing a very strange, religious, medieval, culty, deadly backrooms level that is extremely unique in its design and in the lore as a whole. It's level 116, also unique in its design and in the lore as a whole. It's level 116, also known as the God Spire, and it's a very rare level to find inside of the backrooms, and it's also pretty strange. If you like levels that are full of witchcraft, cult things, creatures, a medieval theme to tie it all together, then you're gonna like this. It's gonna be a fun video. Stick around for the explanation if you don't mind, and with all that said, leave a like for this this video. Anyways, let's get to the explanation of level 116, the God Spire, shall we? Level 116 has been given a safe classification rating for some reason, and it's known for its varying curiosities and the population of peasant medieval people that live here. I'm just gonna tell you right now, you probably shouldn't listen to the level classification because it's lying to you. But the level as a whole is comprised of several different areas. The main point of interest is the town, the little village that is at the center of the level, and I'll explain that first. This tiny
Is that like the party goers messing with the system in Escape the Backrooms and setting their levels stuff up inaccurately? I wonder if that's canon or just something that was in the game. My person looking to later.
Little village is full of small stone and wood houses that are connected by
Oh shoot, right, I forgot about ad break. Oops. You get the stare. We'll have a staring contest. Nightfall. Stare. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm tired. And I have no idea what to do. I'm just trying to pass time. Or am I? I'm dead inside. I don't know what I'm talking about. Ignore me. I'm weird. I'm weird. You know what? Whatever, we could
cobblestone streets. The village usually experiences good weather, and it's noted that it's usually crisp and cool in the nighttime, with sun and light rain showers.
Yeah, we're your best. Yeah.
During the daytime. The houses inside of the village usually experiences good weather, and it's noted that it's usually crisp and cool in the nighttime, with sun and light rain showers during the daytime. The houses inside of the village are stone, and they have this very medieval vibe, what you would imagine a peasant city would look like. These different houses also have balconies and patios and windows and that sort of stuff as well as a few small gardens in each of them. The townsfolk seem to grow all that sort of stuff as well as a few small gardens in each of them. The townsfolk seem to grow all their own food and herbs that they use inside of these small garden beds, and that'll come up later in the video too. But if you find herbs that they use inside of these small
Plantage.
small garden beds, and that'll come up later in the video too. But if you follow these cobblestone streets beyond the houses and beyond the alleyways, you'll eventually be led. But if experiences good weather, and it's noted that it's usually crisp and cool in the nighttime, with sun and light rain showers during the daytime. The houses inside of the village are stone, and they have this very medieval vibe, what you would imagine a peasant city would look like. These different houses also have balconies and patios and windows and that sort of stuff as well as a few small gardens in each of them. The townsfolk seem to grow all their own food and herbs that they use inside of these small garden beds, and that'll come up later in the video too. But if you follow these cobblestone streets beyond the houses and beyond the alleyways, you'll eventually
they going to like put herbs and twigs under someone's door if they don't like them?
Eventually be led to the main point of interest inside of this level, where the strange creature that resides over this place lives, where the level's named after. This is the God Spire, or the Mega Church. It's this megalithic, huge tower that takes place as a church. The levels page says that, quote, the crooked spire of this grim monolith is far taller than any of its surroundings. It's truly inspiring, if not a bit macabre. I'll get back to the church in a little bit, because that's where some weird stuff happens, but beyond the church, there's a few stone bridges, a few mossy covered stone pathways and archways, and there's the wilderness area beyond that. There's two ways you can go beyond the church, once to the left and once to the right. If you go to the right side, you'll be led to the sea, the ocean part of this level, known as the Vermilion Sea. This is a large body of water that has kind of a light pinkish reddish hue to it, and it seems to expand infinitely outwards in the direction
Purple.
east and northeast. The water here is murky and it's red and it can't be seen through, and since it is red, it's very intimidating to look at, and the locals in the village never go near it. There's no lodging, there's no beaches, there's no cafes on the water. People seem to avoid the water as if it's something bad, and I'm just gonna go ahead and tell you now, it is something bad, and more will be connected to that later. If you go to the left of the church, the other direction, you'll reach the area known as the Hollowed Hills, which, you guessed it, is a large expanse of grassy hills dotted with fog. Along these hills, you also find little shacks, as well as bushes and trees. This is kind of the wilderness area of the level, and it's the western part. People usually come here and interact with the fields, and it's where the peasants grow food too, and the largest of these hills is used by the town folk for prayer each morning. But these hills and the water and the church,
Prayer, air quotes.
in the village,
Prayer.
everything exudes extremely dark and
What? What the frick?
culty energy,
What
and
the
you'll see why in a second. But it's just, you shouldn't trust anything you see if you come here. Don't believe this is some little calm medieval village with some church. No, it's not. It's very strange. The main creature here is the town folks themselves, and they look to be these regular medieval peasants. They wear cloth that's been dyed and definitely are like underprivileged, but they usually kind of just don't really talk. They go to church a few days a week, and they pray on the hill, and they eat vegetables they grow, and that's it. The god that they seem to worship is actually a goddess, and her name is Memuerti. M-A-E-M-U-E-R-T-I. This entity seems to have some sort of dominion over the level, to the point where the townsfolk literally call her a god and they praise her, and they etch her into artwork, they carve her into stone. She definitely has some kind of power. But the entity herself looks like some woman that's kind of been sewn together. She has fleshy bits and bones that are in the shape of a human woman, and the art pic depicting her is very unsettling. She looks gaunt, she looks like she's never eaten a day in her life, like her skin is stretched so thinly over her bones, it's disgusting. But beyond her ghostly appearance, we really don't know much about her, where she comes from, what actual lore she has, other than she's just this weird looking creature, or what the extent of her power is. But what we do know is that she demands these townsfolk worship her, and she is not a benevolent god. She is an evil, bad god. And at about this time in the level's description is when it takes a very morbid twist. And to get the full extent of what's going on here, the person that found this level, they wrote about it in like a diary format. So I'm just gonna read to you directly from that diary. That way you get the full vibe on what happened in this level and what this person experienced inside of the church when they went there. Because this is the way to do it fully justice, and I think you're gonna enjoy it. Quote, at the end of the mid-morning celebration, Saul
Is he going to treat this whole thing like one long quote?
quote, at the end of the
Begins
mid-morning
reading story.
celebration,
Sorry, I'll stop skipping. Bye.
quote, at the end of the mid-morning celebration, Salwa, the four chosen ones, and I made the arduous journey up the steep hill. Along the way, Salwa explained that 4 were chosen every month to make this pilgrimage to aid in the construction of Merti's new home. About halfway up is when the stench began. 4 were chosen every month to make this pilgrimage to aid in the construction of Merti's new home. About halfway up, Salwa explained that 4 were
Just
chosen
up the
every
hill.
month to make this pilgrimage to aid in the construction of Merti's new home. About halfway up is when the stench began. A putrid, dreadful odor, though I never could have imagined its source. Like a dead dog sat in the summer heat, it was a stagnant, oppressive rot. When we reached the peak, I almost couldn't comprehend the scene in front of me. As the chosen ones disrobed, I took in my surroundings. The air was filled with a sickening cacophony.
Disrobed.
Wails of agony echoing off each other in a discordant harmony. It took me longer than it should have to realize what I was looking at. Hundreds of bodies were twisted and bent in ways I never imagined possible. Blistered skin fused like a patchwork quilt pulled taut over the undulating tower. Interlocked legs to shoulders, torso to torso, the multitude were stacked, stretched to form a horrible structure. The lowest rungs were nearly stripped to the bone, and soon I saw why. The chosen ones, now as naked as the day they were born, began to climb, using any orifice and crevice possible to aid their ascent.
Not the orifice.
Their feet and hands tore at the squirming mass of flesh to gain leverage. As they hoisted themselves higher, stray hands grasped and clawed feverishly, scoring their bodies from head to toe. When they reached the top, the contorted figures unfolded to greet them, now lubricated by the excrement and viscera accumulated during their climb. They slid seamlessly into the obelisk. All I could do was watch, horrified and awestruck. I didn't know what could have possibly driven all these people to abandon their humanity and to create such an abomination. After the obscene ritual I witnessed, I bade farewell to Salwa, gathered my belongings, and left Godspire, never to return. So yeah, you just heard what the level is, and it seems to be like inside the church building, the giant tower that's of stone, there's just a giant human sacrifice flesh pit that the level eats from. And this goddess convinces people, these volunteers, these chosen ones, to go up in there and be added to this living flesh pit. Somehow, the people in this flesh pit are sewn together, fused at a biological level, and they're still alive and moving, but they're one gigantic tower now. And every single person that gets added to it makes the tower taller, which is just horrifically disturbing. And it's like Monument Mythos meets Mystery Flesh Pit National Park. It's horrible. To enter this terrible place, you can be on level 77, and you can follow a path from there to here. To exit, you can walk off into the hallowed hills until you find a giant gorge. This gorge will lead you out of this horrible cult level, where they sacrifice you alive, into the next level. But this place was extremely unnatural to read. It's one of those levels that I just genuinely don't even know what to say. That was horrible. It was well written though, I gotta say. But it's one of the most extreme examples of cults inside the backrooms. There are other cults as well in the lore, and if you want me to talk about those, leave a like, I might make a whole video about it. But level 116's cult might take the cake. Thank you for watching this video. If you did enjoy, please leave a like, that way the video gets out to as many people as possible. I hope you're having a great day, and hope you're enjoying Broogmas as well. Thank you all for your amazing support. If you want to support me even more, and if you want to check out more stuff I have another channel called Spoogly. I upload there a bunch. I have a TikTok account and an Instagram account where I upload a bunch as well. There's extra content over there if you want to get to know me more. Check out those platforms. Like I said, hopefully you have a great day. With all that said, I will go ahead and end the video here, and I'll see you later. Bye.
Well, that was interesting. Okay.
Years.
I accidentally closed 2 tabs at once somehow. Don't know how I managed that. So, yeah, where did he say the flesh pit was? Was it on the outside? Was it inside the God Spire? Sounds like maybe it was part of the God Spire. I mean, clearly that's what it meant about quote, aiding in the construction of a new home. What the heck? Huh. Let me moist. Sounds odd. Sounds odd to say that without context. If no one has anything to add to that, I'll start the next one. I guess there is nothing to add, so I will continue.
I've spent years discussing the Backrooms lore here on the Broogli channel. This is the place that is constructed with faulty geometry, the home of dangerous and deadly entities and creatures. Liminal space is with faulty geometry, the home of dangerous and
Squiggle bacterium! It's squiggle bacterium!
deadly entities and creatures, liminal spaces that you can explore, dream core worlds. It's got everything. Talking about the Backrooms is what I'm good at, okay? But today in this video, I want to talk about a world between worlds. A place that exists between reality and the Backrooms as we know it. This place is an enigmatic location.
Help with someone's headset issues. I'm back. Oh, okay. Welcome back. Hello.
Known as the Middle Rooms. This place exists between reality and the Backrooms as we know it. This place is an enigmatic location known as the Middle Rooms. The Middle Rooms is a lesser known lore system that's canonically wedged between reality and the Backrooms and all that. This place has its own levels, its own entities, its own lore, and it is all extremely uncanny. So in today's video, I want to introduce these middle rooms to you all and talk about what they are, discuss a couple parts of the lore, and overall just show you what actually exists in that small space between Earth and the complex. So if that sounds cool to you, stick around for the video, leave a like if you enjoy as well, please. Without much more talking, let's get into the middle rooms and let's see what uncanny hellscape we can uncover. So to begin this video, let's see what uncanny hellscape we can uncover.
Skinwalker? Maybe.
So to begin this video, we need to ask ourselves the question, what is the Middle Rooms? Here's what the Middle Rooms wiki has to say about it. The Middle Rooms act as a partition between two dimensions and are located between the front rooms and the back rooms. Although they are sometimes confused for one another, the Middle Rooms and the back rooms are not the same thing. With many organizations, levels, and entities, both the back rooms and the front rooms serve as an entry point to the middle rooms. This can only be accomplished by simultaneously no-clipping in and out of reality, which is an extremely challenging task. End quote. Simply put, the middle rooms is the place between our universe and the backrooms lore that I talk about here. It has its own slew of lore, including levels and entities and sub-levels and history and theories. Obviously, it's not as extensive or fleshed out as, say, the backrooms is, is, and that's because it has is the place between our universe and the Backrooms lore that I talk about here. It has its own slew of lore, including levels and entities and sub-levels and history and theories. Obviously, it's not as extensive. Levels and entities and
no rest yet, traveler. Sorry.
Sub-levels and history and theories. Obviously,
hello, Spectre. Hello, Spectre. Hello, Chris. Welcome in.
it's not as extensive.
How are you doing? I'm sorry. I'm kind of low energy today. I'm tired. We're watching Backrooms videos, and after this one, we're gonna watch some SCP stuff. Gonna be cool. That channel is more animation and lore than just straight up explanation. I'm gonna unpause this, but if you say anything, I will be
Extensive or fleshed out as, say, the Backrooms is, and that's because it has much less research and developments that have been done to it. There still are dozens and dozens of pages documenting these various places, though, and if y'all enjoy this video, I might go over more of them. But the real horror of the middle rooms lies in the fact of how under-documented it is, right? You might be able to learn about the Backrooms from the internet, right? You might watch a Broogli video and know a thing or two about it, but there's been no such research into these middle areas, and it's an entirely new thing. It's unknown, it's foreign, it's not normal. And if you somehow get stranded here, even if you accidentally fall out of reality, you're alone entirely in this uncanny expanse of strange things that we don't know about. For an overarching theme, these middle rooms are extremely unnatural, uncanny, empty, and labyrinthine in nature. Yes, the Backrooms and all of its levels are those things as well, but here, these places are more so. They represent the most barren of places, and the hollowness of getting lost there. It's almost like these liminal spaces here are carnivorous. They swallow up any life force, and they make you exist alone. The middle rooms is chocked full of very, very disturbing things. There are disturbing levels in the Backrooms and entities too. I've talked about them all the time, and I will continue to do so, but something about these middle rooms things, just looking through its wiki, something is off about them. Everything's more distorted. Everything's blown out of proportion, and it's just extremely strange to look at. So for this next portion of the video, I want to go over a few pieces of lore regarding the middle rooms and talk about why it's as strange as I say it is. I'll go over one level, one entity, and one object from the middle rooms lore, and if y'all like it, I might do more videos. If you don't, I won't. But the level classification system is pretty similar to the Backrooms, simply for research purposes, and the two are connected whether they like it or not. The front rooms, Backrooms, and middle rooms are all sort of the same conglomeration bundled up together. But to begin, level 0 of the middle rooms is classified as a class 1 difficulty, and it takes the appearance as follows. Imagine the most monochromatic and metallic laboratory that you can think of, and then imagine that it's spewed out over thousands of miles. That's exactly what level 0 of the middle rooms is, and it really just expands beyond its bounds in every single way. While the hallways do go out for a long time, they physically are not big. They're actually pretty claustrophobic, and while you're walking through them, you'll notice a few different things. One, you'd probably see things that you might find in a regular lab, like hazmat suits, scalpels, beakers, lab coats, etc. The other is that you'll notice how cold and empty and barren everything is here. The floor of the level is made out of some kind of gray concrete that just feels oppressive. The walls feel like they're closing in slowly and slowly on you, and the deeper you traverse into this lab and the more area you cover, the more it begins to feel like solitary confinement. What I mean by that is level 0 has big open corridors and hallways that go off in many different offshoots and things like that. You're not feeling like you're cramped. But here, this area is confined. It's not bright, it's not colorful, it's aggressively chromatic and aggressively barren. It feels like the level itself is sick, infected with the disease of liminality, and while you're exploring it, it's like you're the last person that gets to see it before it dies. Levels in the middle rooms do not feel good to be in. Obviously, that's the same for the Backrooms levels, but here it's even more so. To exit this chromatic lab, you have to follow tasks that you find on various computers and tablets written here. Whoever writes these tasks, where they come from, why they are so what they are is unknown. They can be mundane, they can be complicated, whatever the case is, you have to follow them and do them in order to be sent out. They're completely randomized and they change based off of who enters the place, and completing them, as far as we know, is the only way to get out of the level. If you do make it out of level 0, though, you're bound to explore more levels, which I will go over in future videos if you would like me to cover more Middle Rooms episodes.
Interesting.
But through your journey in betwixt those levels,
I picked an interesting one for the last one of these.
But through your journey in betwixt those levels, you might encounter entities as well. Things like entity number 2, which have been named Flesh Eyes. Flesh Eyes are hostile creatures that are said to inhabit the much deeper regions of these middle rooms. They take on the visage of a large, bloody, fleshy eyeball with blue irises. The entities themselves behave in a hive mind-like state, and they utilize some sort of psychic connection to attack prey and to hunt them, which is you. When they do find their prey, they exude some kind of toxin in their eye that paralyzes and stuns their victims. After this, they absorb them via their eye socket. Now, there's no doubt how Flesh Eyes work because, quite frankly, not many people have been to the middle rooms. But we do know that they have significantly less organs than humans do, and the majority of other creatures for that matter. But they do seem to have a brain behind the eyeball, as well as stomachs and lungs and bladders and a bowel system. These creatures are just extremely uncanny to witness. Not just the Flesh Eye, but all of the beings that you might run into and encounter in these middle areas. They seem off, they seem devolved, they seem strange. I know I keep saying these things over and over, but just look at these things. They definitely are weird, man. The main thing I want to hit home is just how hollow everything in this universe feels. It's less hopeful than the Backrooms, even if that's not possible, and it's much more isolating. Many of the Backrooms levels are the same feeling as well, but you also get nicer places that you might be able to chill out on, maybe like the pool rooms and stuff, and explore those liminal spaces. Here, these places are not meant to be explored and enjoyed, they're meant to be endured and survived. And all of these objects and entities and levels follow that same pattern in the middle rooms. An example of an object would be number 7, aka the fortune cookies, which essentially are found in random cabinets throughout the middle room's expanses, and eating these fortune cookies will give you whatever fortune is inside of them inside your life. So if it's a bad fortune, you're probably not going to make it out alive. Even the objects here seem to have more malice and more envy inside of them. They carry on this feeling of helplessness and emptiness that everything else does as well.
Doesn't that mean you could like break them open, read the fortune, and decide whether to eat it or not? At least that's what I would try to do.
The middle rooms are just a terrifying branch off, like a smaller sibling of the Backrooms lore that you're used to. They add this extra dimension of fear and terror that the Backrooms has all over itself, but here it's concentrated. As I've said a few times in this video, if you want me to cover more middle rooms lore, I'll be glad to do that. Just let me know by leaving a like and commenting. Keep in mind the middle rooms and the back rooms and the front rooms are all part of the same lore space. It's just that this is a much less fleshed out part of the lore. It's been there for a while, just no one's talked about it until now. You just listen to me talk about it for like 10 minutes. But that was a small introduction to the middle rooms, this very weird, off-putting, strange expanse that exists underneath the back rooms and outside of it. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like on the video. I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for everything. Leave a like for other Backrooms levels I should talk about. I'm sure there's some that you have on your mind. If you put a comment down, I'll probably add it to the list. Check out Spoogli, my other channel. Check out my TikTok and my Instagram as well. Thank you all so much for everything. Hopefully you're getting excited for Broogmas. Lots of stuff is coming for that. This is year 5 of doing that, by the way, which is insane to me. And also make sure you have everything ready for next year because so much is coming to the Broogli channel. This has been the biggest year on the Broogli channel so far in the 5 years that I've done it. Let's make year number 6 the best and the biggest, and I have all of you to thank for that. With all that said, I'll see you in the next video on any of my channels. Peace and love. Bye-bye.
Oh. Torture.
You to thank for that. With all that said, I'll see you in the next video on any of my
Months ago. So yeah, that's interesting. This does actually sound interesting. I am kind of curious about this, to hear more about that, so hopefully he does see more about this later on. But for now, let's move on to the SCP section. And of course, and seeing as I am a Kitsune, I am a fox myself, we are starting with the Kumiho SCP. The Korean version of the
Foundation has dealt with plenty of things. The SCP Foundation has dealt with plenty of things that no one could ever even imagine. Creatures and objects beyond anyone's wildest dreams. An evil old man that can walk through walls. An IKEA that never ends. A giant underwater eel that can erase your memories. And so much more. But sometimes the anomalies they discover seem to be plucked from a familiar nightmare. In Korea, shortly after the end of the Second World War, a team of SCP Foundation officers encountered something right out of a dark, twisted fairy tale. In the late 1940s, the 5th Squad of the Eastern Division of the SCP Foundation received a call to come to Busan, Korea.
Yeah, I like this channel.
Of the Eastern Division of the SCP Foundation received a call to come to Busan, Korea, and investigate a potential anomaly involving several deaths. 3 agents, referred to from now on as Agent 1, Agent 2, and Agent 3, were deployed to the region, where they first headed to the morgue to examine the bodies under the cover of reporters investigating the deaths.
Ad break. Oh, nerd. Have you... This one in particular? Have you seen this one in particular? You said that you watched videos on this channel before. Have you seen this one? Over a year. Wow. Fair enough. Yeah, obviously, I have to start with one that is going to be. If obviously, I have to start with the Fox Girl SCP, seeing as I am one myself. Like, of course. How could I not? Unless I needed more unconscious. Fair enough. Fair enough.
The nature of the wounds indicated an animal attack. An eyewitness account from an old woman who saw a fox-like creature eating one of her cows supported this hypothesis. Of course, the agents knew differently. Sure, it was something like an animal, but this culprit was no animal they had ever encountered. The 3 recounted stories of fox spirits, villainous tricksters, capable of changing their shape and oppressing all kinds of havoc on those unfortunate souls they targeted. While sweeping the area, the agents encountered a beautiful young woman sitting errantly. Sure, it was something like an animal, but this culprit was no animal they had ever encountered. The 3 recounted stories of fox spirits, villainous tricksters, capable of changing their shape and oppressing all kinds of havoc on those unfortunate souls they targeted. While sweeping the area, the agents encountered a beautiful young woman sitting under a waterfall, combing her hair. She was dressed in a light robe, and her feet were bare. This, they noticed, gave her away. Instead of having human feet, she had paws covered in reddish fur. The agents assumed that this creature was inexperienced, unable to properly conceal herself. They believed they had the upper hand on her. They would soon see the error of their ways. The woman greeted the 3 men and invited them to have dinner at her nearby cottage. Believing themselves to be relatively safe, armed as they were, and with 3 people against 1 delicate, if inhuman woman, They agreed. The foxwoman ushered them to a lovely rustic cottage and sat them down at the dining table. She served them plum wine, rice-pickled turnips, and meat. Everything was delicious, and feeling at ease, the agents decided to turn in for the night. This creature, though unusual, did not seem threatening. She had no reason to attack them, or so they thought. Agent 1 woke in the night to go to the bathroom and tiptoed out of the cottage to relieve himself behind a bush. There, he saw Agent 2 with the foxwoman. Let's just say they were getting to know each other intimately. Suddenly, an abrupt change of mood, she bit him. She tore the man's throat out with her teeth before he could scream, turning his cries to a wet, useless gurgle. Then she took her hand and plunged it into his belly, shredding the flesh with razor-sharp claws. He thrashed and tried to fight her off, but she shoved him to the ground and tore his stomach open, rooting around inside for something. When she found it, she stopped and gleefully tore out his liver. As the first agent looked on in horror, she lifted his colleague's liver and swallowed it whole in one single gulp. Not noticing her onlooker, she continued her vile work, peeling her victim's skin like an orange. The agent who witnessed the whole thing regained his ability to move, adrenaline flooding his veins, and ran back to the cottage in search of his remaining teammate. Agent 1 shook Agent 3 awake, babbling incoherently as he tried to explain what was going on, and the fact that they needed to leave, and they needed to leave now. To his shock, Agent 2 walked into the room, asking what all the noise was about. Agent 1 immediately noticed the man's glowing yellow eyes and made his next move without thinking. He pulled out his gun and fired. Agent 3 drew his weapon next, pointing it at 1 and yelling for him to put the weapon away. 1 tried to explain that this man was not their friend, but rather the fox in disguise, but he wouldn't listen. The fox grabbed 1, and 3 shot him in the upper arm. Agent 1 dropped to the ground, wailing in pain as the fox laughed in a high-pitched, devilish whine. Agent 1 scrambled away, crawling into the living room and slamming the rice paper screen door shut. There, laid out on the dining table, was another agent. They had seen this man at the base of the mountain only a few days ago, but now here he was, eyes wide and glassy, and skin flayed open. Then Agent 1 saw the remains of their dinner. In the bowls, there was the flesh of their fallen colleague. With it was not rice, but maggots crawling over the meat. Agent 1 was able to improvise a weapon, breaking off a portion of the wooden beam and stabbing the fox through the stomach as she lunged through the rice paper door. He made his way through the forest, running as fast as he could with his gunshot wound. He found his way to the bank of the river and attempted to cross. However, he was disoriented and afraid. It was pitch black outside, and he was nauseous from the pain. He slipped on the wet rocks and hit his head, falling into the water. The rapids carried him away, pulling him downstream for half a mile before he was able to grab hold of an exposed branch. Agent 1 made his way back to his team's van, broke a window, and pulled a flamethrower from the back. He recalled legends about similar fox-like creatures mentioning an aversion to fire, and so he prepared to fight her off with as much as he could.
I mean, most creatures would be averse to fire. So, like,
Get. Just as he readied the flamethrower for use, the foxwoman emerged from the tree line. What happened next is unknown, lost from the official record. However, after several days, a retrieval team tracked down Agent 1 and rescued him, capturing the foxwoman in the process. He was taken to the hospital, where he remained with a serious infection for several days before he was discharged. Initially, the Foundation planned to terminate the creature. However, Agent 1 vehemently opposed that decision. He insisted that they should keep her alive. He also recommended the containment methods used to imprison her be adjusted. The agent promised that she would not be held by the chosen methods, and that the result of her inevitable escape would be devastating. In his official interview, he had this to say on the subject. Like I said, she's spiteful. Every little slight in her eye she saves up. The only way she knows how to repay an insult is death. Chaining her to the wall like an animal. When she gets out, and she will get out, she's going to kill everyone who had the slightest thing to do with it. She won't settle for anything else. Much to the Foundation's surprise, Agent 1 visited the Foxwoman in her holding cell several times. The Foundation attempted to understand this concerning behavior, but Agent 1 refused to admit that there was something strange about it. His attachment to the Foxwoman had been attributed to Stockholm Syndrome, brought on as a result of several days in the woods spent as her captive. To this day, Agent 1 is the only person to survive that long alone with a creature that is now known as SCP-953. SCP-953 is a female red fox, weighing approximately 8 kilograms. Unlike an ordinary fox, her spine splits at the base into 9 different tails, previously referred to as a kitsune, the shape-shifting fox spirit of Japanese legend. It has since been discovered that she is actually a kumiho, a Korean fox spirit with similar qualities. SCP-953 is a polymorph, also known as a shapeshifter, though she retains some aspects of her fox-like appearance no matter what form she is in, including ears, paws, tails, eyes, and fur. Though she attempts to cover these revealing physical traits with clothes and hairstyling, she is unable to get rid of them entirely. In addition to her shapeshifting, 953 has potent psychic abilities, including the powers of suggestion and telepathy. She has used these abilities to wreak havoc on her victims, causing them to experience terrifying hallucinations, hurt themselves, and in one particularly horrific case, convincing a mother to kill, cook, and eat her own child. She has also successfully used these abilities to escape containment 6 times. SCP-953's most recent escape caused the deaths of 10 Foundation staff. After destroying nearby security cameras, she shifted into the appearance of an adult man, walking out the front door in a stolen lab coat. Anyone who stopped her to ask for identification was swiftly slaughtered. After her escape, the fox disappeared for 5 years until she resurfaced at YIFCon, a convention for furries and anthropomorphic animal enthusiasts. There, the fox-like ears and tail that might draw attention in other places allowed her to hide in plain sight. The Foundation was alerted to her presence when a terrified hotel housekeeper called 911 after walking in on SCP-953 slicing open the torso of a dead convention-goer. By the time the Foundation reached the convention center and captured the fox, she had left 24 corpses in her wake. The bodies, all mutilated almost beyond recognition, were found scattered throughout the hotel in various places, including stuffed into a mattress, hanging over a shower curtain rod, rolled up in a carpet, and strewn across a banquet table. The survivors were given Class A amnestics to wipe their memories and released from custody. The convention was cut short, with a dangerous gas leak as the cover story. So far, the fox has not escaped Foundation custody again. SCP-953 is kept in a Type 4 containment cell in Hallway 99 of Site-17. She is provided 1.5 kilograms of fresh liver every day to eat, as well as clean drinking water and a futon with blankets and sheets that are changed out weekly. In exchange for good behavior, she is provided the occasional luxury item such as plum wine, novels, or a variety of Korean sweets. After so many successful escapes, the Foundation realized that simple physical containment was not adequate to keep SCP-953 away from the general population. Making use of her fear of dogs, the Foundation keeps 953's containment chamber surrounded by dog kennels filled with Korean Jindo and American foxhounds. All staff assigned to SCP-953's containment chamber are to be given background checks, looking for any prior ties to the furry community. Such affiliations may make them vulnerable to SCP-953's influence, and have been attributed to the death of one Agent Gallagher. Because of her psychic abilities, no direct contact with 953 is allowed. All communication with the fox must take place from a distance of 100 meters, and food, water, and other items are delivered to her via a robotic assistant. She must be considered armed and dangerous at all times, and can only be transported while accompanied by 6 members of armed personnel. There are folklore-based procedures in place for employees as well, providing specific instructions to staff assigned to SCP-953. No matter how odd or ridiculous these instructions may seem, the staff is to adhere to them and remember that what we may think of as classic fairy tales are often more like ancient special containment procedures. If versions of the kumiho and the kitsune exist, then who knows what other seemingly mythical creatures the SCP Foundation might encounter in the future? What other beasts are lurking on the edges of civilization, hiding in the shadows, or worse, hiding in plain sight, just under our noses? Best to brush up on your local folklore, just in case. And as always, be careful out there. Now go check out SCP-3663 Tunnel Monster and SCP-2430 Immortal Hitler Clone for more haunting, anomalous humanoids.
Was it really an accident to some Markiplier? Probably not. The fact that she crashed a break, bent an inverter for fun is wild! What is with the liver consumption? Is it tasty? Nerd, mind if I experiment with you?
Against
Yay! I must. Okay, moving on.
the SCP Foundation faces off against a number of incomprehensible, impossibly dangerous. The
You
SCP
keep wanting to be sacrificed. What?
The SCP Foundation faces off against a number of
I'm not a demon lord like you keep saying.
incomprehensible, impossibly dangerous threats every single day. They've gotten so used to containing terrifying monsters and world-ending anomalies that it's really just all in a day's work for them. But what if there was something that scared even the most jaded Foundation personnel? Something that none of them could track, understand, or even see. In the 1990s, employees of the SCP Foundation began to disappear without a trace. At first, the higher-ups assumed it was traumatized personnel making a break for it after they'd seen something that finally made them snap. But that wouldn't account for all the blood. At the site of every disappearance, the last place anyone saw the missing person before they were gone, there was a massive amount of blood left behind. Not an "I cut my thumb while chopping onions" amount of blood, but an "I'm missing a limb" amount of blood. Buckets and buckets of what was confirmed to be the missing person's blood were found, spilled all over the scene of their disappearance. The first recorded instance of this phenomenon was captured via security footage of a laboratory late at night. There, Dr. Porter was sat in his lab chair finishing up some tests, running potentially anomalous soil samples through a variety of machines. The room was mostly dark, save for the light of a small desk lamp. Suddenly, he looked up from his work, eyes darting around the room. He couldn't see anything, but he could feel it. There was something in there with him. He couldn't shake the feeling that something horrible was about to happen, and not about to stick around and see what it would be. He made a break for the door. Just before his outstretched arm reached the handle, he jerked back into the room as if pulled back by his hair. He looked around wildly for his assailant, but there was nothing there that he could see. The security footage showed him jerked around, thrashing his arms as he tried to fight off an invisible attacker for several seconds. Then, he was gone, and the pristine white tile of the laboratory was smeared with that telltale bright red. He wasn't pulled into a pocket dimension like an attack by SCP-106. He was simply there one moment and gone the next. The blood on the ground the only sign he had ever been there at all. Dr. Porter's disappearance was troubling, but the Foundation hoped it might just be an isolated incident. Of course, nothing ever goes the way you'd hope when you're dealing with SCPs, and within the next 6 months, 3 more personnel had vanished in the same way. The phenomenon, whatever was causing it, had a few simple rules it seemed to play by. It occurred on a cycle of 1 to 3 months. It only happened to Foundation personnel, and it always happened in a dark place where visibility was limited. Understandably unsettled, many personnel stopped coming into work, afraid they might be next. Unfortunately for them, the phenomenon was not limited to the area within the Foundation's walls. It could find them, no matter how far they ran, as soon as they were in the dark. You can't fight, outrun, or outsmart the setting sun or your bedside lamp going dead. Research Assistant Sanchez vanished while taking a shortcut down an alley at night. Dr. Costanza was taken while she was reading a book before bed. Her blood-stained sheets, discovered days later, indicated that she didn't even have time to run. Junior researcher Wantabe disappeared from the back row of a midnight screening of Evil Dead 2. Moviegoers at the same screening reported hearing some commotion from the back, like someone hitting one of the seats and kicking their legs, but they assumed it was just a massive Bruce Campbell fan excited about the movie. The noise only lasted for a few seconds anyway. And so the pattern continued, and every couple of months, one member of the Foundation staff vanished, leaving behind only blood and a sense of dread. None of the missing staff, dead or alive, were ever found. The phenomenon was assigned the designation SCP-835-JP, and though they tried to come up with a plan to contain it or put a stop to it, many accepted it as simply another occupational hazard in an increasingly long list that came with doing the Foundation's work. Just when it was beginning to look like there would never be a way to prevent new brushes with SCP-835 short of never being alone in the dark ever again, something weird and wonderful happened. In a Japanese SCP Foundation facility, during one of the phenomenon's inactive periods, a booklet entitled Artist's Impression of SCP-835-JP was found on the desk of a research assistant. It depicted a fictional character known as Keteru Yamiko, intended to be—
That's actually really pretty! What the heck? This is like actual art! What the heck? I don't remember seeing this! It's pretty!
a personification of the phenomenon. Keteru Yamiko, as depicted in the booklet, is a young woman drawn in a traditional anime and manga art style. She is pale, with blue eyes and long black hair, and is dressed in a classic Japanese school uniform. In addition to her design, the booklet also describes the character's abilities and backstory. Keteru is described as a type of assassin with expertise in predatory ambush. A santoku knife is her weapon of choice. She also displays anomalous abilities with regard to the absence of light. She is able to manipulate darkness and use dark and shadows as a weapon that she can trap her targets with. She is also able to teleport using shadows, transporting herself, objects, or her prey through shadows to remove all evidence of what she has done. The origins of Keteru's abilities are somewhat murky, but whether she was born with them or given them, she came into her unusual talents at a young age. Due to her abilities, she was found by a mysterious organization, an unknown enemy of the SCP Foundation, and abducted by them as a child. There they indoctrinated her and trained her to be a master assassin, teaching her how to use her abilities, master hand-to-hand combat, and the use of weapons, and to have the ice-cold demeanor of a perfect killer. She learned to move in the shadows and make her darkness her ultimate home and ally. Once her training was complete, Keteru was sent out into the world with one mission: to take out members of the SCP Foundation by any means necessary. According to the lore of the booklet, her killings drew the attention of the Foundation, though they did not understand who she was or who had sent her. Then they assigned her the designation of SCP-835-JP. The booklet was sent to the site's head researcher, who brought in the assistant for further questioning. The man confessed to have drawn the booklet, saying that drawing Keteru Yamiko had made him feel less afraid of the mysterious entity. By turning it into a fictional character, he was taking his sense of control back, as well as turning his fear into a chance to explore his favorite hobby, drawing. What had once been a completely unknown entity, something without a face or a motive of any kind, was now a classic anime character, and something he could wrap his mind around. Also, he just thought it all looked really cool. He was reprimanded for drawing on the job and making light of a phenomenon that had taken so many of his colleagues. He was transferred to a different department, and the booklet was largely forgotten about, at least until one researcher, Dr. Sato, noticed something curious. After the discovery of the Keteru Yamiko booklet, also known as Incident 835-JP, there were no disappearances for 5 months. Another disappearance finally occurred, but the pattern, which had been so consistent before, was disrupted for the first time in a decade. Dr. Sato noticed this delay, and though his colleagues mocked him for it, drew a connection between the longer inactive period and the discovery of the Keteru Yamiko booklet. He quickly got to work and developed a proposal, Protocol Idle 835, which was approved by a head researcher desperate for some kind of solution. and promptly put it into practice. Dr. Sato's theory behind the implementation of Protocol Idol was that, somehow, SCP-835-JP was connected to and influenced by the perceptions of the Foundation personnel. In fact, it had likely originated from their collective sense of anxiety and paranoia in the first place, acting as a tulpa, or a thought made real through intense concentration and belief. Therefore, he hypothesized that by changing the staff's perception of the phenomenon from something horrifying and unknowable to an approachable and even fun fictional character, they could somehow contain it and stop any further disappearances. The goal of Protocol Idol was to create a shared version of SCP-835-JP for all of the staff to focus on, stripping the entity of its original power. Since many staff had already seen the original Keteru Yamiko booklet, she was chosen to be the shared, agreed-upon description of SCP-835-JP. With all of that decided, the protocol was officially put into place. First, all of the documents and reports that referred to SCP-835-JP were edited to include details about Keteru Yamiko, including descriptions of the character, repeated mentions of her name instead of the SCP's number, and various illustrations. In addition to changing the records, a publicity campaign was mounted to cement the idea of Keteru Yamiko in the minds of all of the staff. Keteru Yamiko's design was painted on various supplies, on the side of transport vans, on the doors to laboratories, and as murals on several walls throughout the facility. The booklet was copied and distributed around the facility as a piece of required reading. The original author of the booklet was brought back on board to design and head the creation of a variety of other reading materials, including fictional novels, manga, and short animated videos featuring Keteru Yamiko as the main character. Mandatory watch parties were held for these short animations, and free snacks and drinks were provided in order to boost morale. Several employees began jokingly referring to these watch parties as SCP Foundation Anime Club. Through the efforts of the Idol Protocol, the image and knowledge of Keteru Yamiko spread throughout the Foundation and became the dominant perception of SCP-835-JP. Since the implementation of this protocol, there have been no disappearances in line with SCP-835-JP's pattern, and the project was declared a success. Dr. Sato included this note in SCP-835-JP's file. SCP-835-JP is probably a manifestation of the instinctive fear that something threatening oneself may be lurking in the darkness. But the imaginary monster we once feared has now been reduced to a cliched character with Protocol Idol 835. Ever since the implementation of Protocol Idol 835, SCP-835-JP is considered neutralized. Its classification has been downgraded from Keter to Safe. There have been talks about strengthening the entity's containment by expanding the protocol outside of the Foundation, in order to prevent the possibility of containment breaches down the line that might be brought on by exposure to a major cognito hazard, or in-house amnestics. A special team of illustrators, animators, and writers have been brought on to spearhead the protocol, creating additional comic books, posters, and even beginning the early stages of production on a feature-length animated film about SCP-835 and her various exploits, tentatively titled Keteru Yamiko, Shadow Girl. There have been no plans made yet for international distribution, but who knows? We might just see Keteru Yamiko on the big screen one of these days. She might just end up as the first ever SCP to become a mainstream celebrity. And until then, the Foundation could also disseminate knowledge about her through other means. Say a fun little animated YouTube video. But what's the chance they'd ever pull a move like that, right? Now go check out SCP-2935 O-Death and more epic SCP stories you can't miss. And Procedure 110 Montauk revealed Fear Alone SCP-231 Tale for more mind-bending anomalous action from the SCP Foundation. And Procedure 20 the theme celebrity. And until then, the Foundation could also disseminate knowledge about her through other means. Say a fun little animated YouTube video. But what's the chance they'd ever pull a move like that, right? Now go check out SCP.
Honestly, someone could like actually do that, and that would be very cool. That would be really fun if someone like actually did that. Oh. Making it required reading material is crazy though. The SCP Foundation anime watch party. SCP Foundation anime. I'd watch it. I would too.
P-2935 O Death and More epic SCP stories you can't miss. And Procedure 110 Montauk revealed Fear Alone SCP-231 Tale for more mind-bending anomalous action from the SCP Foundation.
I hired a guy so I could fire him? Damn. Damn, Doc Douglas. Why did I click the button and then press F? Like, what was the thought process? What was the thought process? Answer? There was none. There was no thoughts. There was no thought. There was no thought. You'll see this? You'll see this? There are no thoughts behind these eyes. Nope. There are no thoughts behind these eyes. Especially right now. Not sure if the ad break has happened yet or not. No think, only SCP. Yeah. And if ads hadn't started right then, I would have been like, yes, I would have been all cough, 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 coughity cough, cough, and cough. Yes, very true, so true, me, yes, cough. I don't put my spit. I was gonna say I would have like unpaused this right then, but dang, it's paid content. Hopefully I stop dying. Talking is very not so goy.
You'd never think that one of the SCP Foundation's methods for locating new anomalies begins with a spiderweb. Imagine a humble, intricate cuckoo clock, cocooned in silk, its hands straining against time itself, moving ever backwards. On closer inspection, the markings on the clock were written in a strange language, one that we've never encountered before. They were carved into the wood in completely alien characters, but the spiders? They didn't want to go anywhere near it. Eventually, we sent in some D-Class personnel to retrieve the clock for further study, but that was a mistake. The second they touched the clock, they began to shriek and convulse. All the guards could do was watch through the glass dividers as the D-Classes changed, aging in reverse at a horrifying speed. Men becoming boys, boys becoming babies, until all that was left was a puddle of unpleasant fluid on the tiles. Would you believe this was still probably one of the nicer anomalies we've received? Pay close attention. You wouldn't have gotten this far if you didn't show potential. The Foundation sees something in you, but don't get complacent. Over 20% of personnel don't survive their first week of direct contact with anomalies, and most of them thought they were too special to end up as a statistic. You've been assigned to SCP-848. Oof, I hope you're not afraid of arachnids. You might actually recognize these. Well, aside from the unusual size. We've run the numbers. They're approximately 15% bigger and faster than your average specimen of Nephilia clavipes, better known as the golden silk orb weaver or the banana spider. And as you can see, their webs are extremely impressive. 5 meters across in every direction, an exquisite construction made of extra strong silk, unlike anything you'd ever hope to see outside these walls. They're almost big enough to catch a person, don't you think? Don't get too close. If you just brush against one of these threads, you might get stuck. And then you'll hear it, the skittering of needle-sharp legs crawling towards you, clicking their mandibles as they prepare for their next meal. Oh, don't look so afraid. It's just a little Foundation fun, ripping the new recruit, you know. While these spiders may be anomalously large, fast, and strong, they don't show any aggression to humans. They pose no real danger to you. I just wish I could say aggression to humans. They pose no real danger to you. I just wish I could say the same for the poor things that get caught in their webs. Let's take a look, shall we? Of course, there are the usual suspects: moths, flies, miscellaneous insects. We've recorded over 300 different species of terrestrial insects trapped within the web of SCP-848, even ones that have no earthly business being in this corner of the world. But those are of least interest to us, frankly. You see, this web isn't just hanging in the corner of a room. It's anchored to a point, one that exists across an unknown number of dimensions and timelines. And when someone like that becomes a spider's hunting ground, it's going to catch more than flies. Take a look at this unusually large cocoon over here. When that creature first manifested, it was an enormous dragonfly with a meter-long wingspan. It's a creature that hasn't existed here on Earth for over 150 million years. As you're probably aware, dragonflies are the most efficient predator in the animal kingdom, so one that size would be capable of inflicting some real damage. Its thrashing tore through multiple strands of web in the process of its manifestation, until the spiders zeroed in and injected their venom. It's important that you understand this is a passive anomaly. We found the spiders out in rural Australia, where an unusual number of anomalous incidents seemed to be occurring. Incidents of creatures and entities that the locals couldn't explain. 6-legged armored creatures covered in metallic spines, shadow people with glowing ember eyes, 14-foot-long millipedes that made local pets disappear. None of these anomalous entities appear related, which raised the possibility of a portal effect, or some form of dimensional instability, producing these linked but variable manifestations. Even the deployment of Scranton reality anchors didn't seem to lower the amount of anomalous incidents occurring out here. We were just lucky that some of our brave field agents decided to go for a bushwalk. They found an abnormally large spider web where some unholy fusion of a person and an F-35 fighter jet were struggling for dear life against the hypertensile threads, and all around it were impossible 12-legged insects that seemed to have large human eyes. The jet creature had already been bitten by the spiders, seemingly more out of a defensive panic than any attempt to feed. The 12-legged anomalous insects were much more their speed. By the time we extracted the plane creature from the web, it had already succumbed to the venom. We incinerated it after the autopsy. Each of the individual spiders were captured and brought here to this containment chamber. The original web was destroyed with bolt cutters. Interestingly, the Hume level of that area increased substantially once the web was destroyed. That's how we found out that the web itself seemed to be some kind of unintentional dimensional conduit. Sure enough, when the spiders were freed into the containment chamber to rebuild their web, it immediately lowered the Hume level in the exact same fashion. Fascinating, isn't it? But given that SCP-848 is your new detail, you're going to need to know a little more than this.
Why is the good
Into the containment chamber to rebuild their web, it immediately lowered the Hume level in the exact same fashion. Fascinating, isn't it? But given that SCP-848 is your new detail, you're going to need to know a little more than this. Since we contained it 15 years ago, this anomaly has killed at least 50 members of Foundation staff. And if we counted D-Class, you'd be looking at triple digits easily. But we don't count them, do we? While the web itself is a passive anomaly, and the spiders pose no risk of containment breach, the unpredictable nature of what can manifest within it day to day has still warranted a Euclid classification. The manifestation rate itself can also be highly unpredictable. I would probably take note of that. Generally, on the low end, you're looking at a single anomaly per week, on what staff have taken to colloquially calling Hell Weeks. Up to a dozen anomalies can manifest each day for multiple days in a row. Let's just say that's not exactly an ideal situation to be in. Of course, if you do end up having a quiet couple of weeks and the spiders get malnourished, you're advised to throw in a few harmless insects from storage to keep them fed. They can act as an extraordinary early warning system for anomalies that we might find ourselves encountering in the future. What other interesting anomalies have manifested in the web over the years? I'm glad you asked. But before I answer, it's already too late to request a transfer. You're here for the long haul. Or until the Foundation decides you aren't. And I'm telling you this as a courtesy to prepare you for what you might be about to encounter. One entity was reptilian in nature. It appeared gasping and thrashing between the threads. It was clear from the viewing window that the entity was unable to breathe our terrestrial air and appeared to be asphyxiating. Personnel observing at the time decided to wait and see what unfolded rather than immediately entering the room. And that was a wise, or lucky, decision, because the creature popped like a balloon in its death throes and coated the entire testing chamber in fluids that would be highly toxic to humans. Messy incidents like this are common when creatures unable to survive the conditions of our universe become caught in SCP-848. As I mentioned with the clock earlier, it isn't just living beings that find themselves getting caught in the interdimensional web. On the more mundane end, small scraps of paper or other rather insignificant objects often turn up, which are periodically removed and incinerated during the bi-monthly cleaning incursions. Other times, the objects that find their way into the web aren't nearly so benign. One incident I have trouble forgetting is when a wooden ruler appeared in the web, still being clutched tightly by a bony skeletal hand. Surely a fortuitous sign. D-Class personnel were dispatched to remove detritus from the chamber, including the ruler, which was initially assumed to be non-anomalous debris carried in by the temporal winds. But when one unfortunate D-Class touched it, his entire manner seemed to change. And any command he gave, those who heard were forced to obey. Not to put too fine a point on it, but the ruler had made him a ruler. His first act was to take command of the contingent of guards sent in to subdue him and force them to shoot each other. The room outside the testing chamber quickly became a bloodbath. The ruler and the D-Class were both destroyed when a Death Foundation sharpshooter took them out with a .50 caliber round that left them highly unidentifiable. Incidents like this have led to personnel dealing with new manifestations in the web with an abundance of caution. It can be hard to know what effects any new anomaly might have. If you find you're not adept at coping with a little uncertainty in life, I'm afraid to say that this definitely isn't the job for you. But please, don't let my stories frighten you too much. You know what fear stands for? It's false evidence appearing real, which is to say, one should always doubt their perceptions while in a fearful state. Instead, engage with caution. Fear leads to irrationality, and that very irrationality can be a tool that dangerous anomalies can use against you. One of the more disturbing incidents began when
Oh great, it's a dirty, rotten bot. Say goodbye.
anomalies can use against you. One of the more disturbing incidents began when the observing personnel heard begging and pleading from inside the testing chamber. They were shocked to see that Dr. Mathers, one of the researchers on the case, had somehow gotten stuck in the web. Given that Dr. Mathers is an older gentleman, the guards were naturally concerned that the defensive bites from the spiders might be ruinous to the doctor's health. 2 guards opened the sealed door and rushed into the room to help. But by that point, it was already too late. Mathers harmlessly stepped away from the web, which he appeared to have cut through with what appeared to have been a rusty hand sickle. Without warning, he launched a brutal attack on one of the guards, carving and slashing in a way that seemed to completely bypass his tactical armor. The other guard unloaded a magazine from his standard issue P90 into Dr. Mather's chest, causing him to collapse to the ground. The guard blinked and saw that Dr. Mathers wasn't laying on the ground, but instead what appeared to be a scarecrow, some kind of anomalous mimic ported in from another dimension. The real Dr. Mathers had been taking a sick day. We've since concluded that the scarecrow entity maintained some kind of psychic link to the guards, allowing it to select and replicate the exact person most likely to lure them into the room. The guard who was attacked with the sickle didn't survive. The scarecrow remained inanimate after taking sustained fire from the surviving guard. I'm aware of what you're thinking right now. Doesn't it seem almost dangerous to keep things going like this? Wouldn't it be safer to just separate the spiders? One container each, feed them individually? No web, no opportunity for web formation. And perhaps that would be true, if these were the only anomalies we'd cataloged. But the truth is a little more complicated. You see, sometimes things that have appeared in the web foretold the emergence of anomalies that the Foundation would later discover and contain. This has given us an advanced warning system and the opportunity to develop valuable and realistic countermeasures before things get too out of hand. In one instance, there was a dead, elongated humanoid creature with no face that emerged into the web. The spiders seemed to avoid it instinctively, not out of fear, but because they somehow sensed that it contained no nutritional value whatsoever. Our researchers studied the creature extensively and found that the most striking clue was in its worn and tattered clothes. It seemed to be an IKEA employee uniform. We first discovered SCP-3008, the Infinite IKEA, less than a month later. On another occasion, researchers were shocked to see that a series of crumpled Polaroids were stuck in the web. Each one seemed to express some moment of extreme elation. A man getting married to a beautiful woman, a woman being handed a several billion-dollar check from the Utah State Lottery, a couple pushing a child back and forth on a swing. This seemed to foreshadow the later discovery of SCP-978, the Desire Camera, a Polaroid camera capable of depicting a person's greatest desire in whatever photo is taken of them. Then, a dead SCP Foundation researcher appeared in the web, not one that anyone was able to identify. Naturally, personnel were cautious in their approach, fearing that this could be another situation akin to the murderous scarecrow that had killed the guard. However, after observing a lack of movement for 54 consecutive hours, it was deemed safe to retrieve the corpse. That was when the real revelation began. While the person was not traceable on any Foundation records, ID documentation on his own body said he worked at Site-13. We did not have a Site-13. Stranger still, his cause of death was a shot in the back of the head, consistent with standard issue Foundation guard sidearms. This was our first warning for the emergence of SCP-1730, the terrifying interdimensional Site-13 that would appear a number of years later. And who knows, really, what will be the next anomaly the web will help predict. I hope that through all of this, you've learned to respect the web. It can end your life in an instant, or it can save you, if you keep your wits about you. After all, we can never really know what we'll find tangled up amidst the threads next. Now check out SCP-4663, 3D printed spiders printing printed printers printing spider printers, or Rick and Morty more powerful than SCP Foundation Mad Scientist Battle for more.
Crackle headphones.
Or Rick tangled up amidst the threads next. Now check out SCP-4663, 3D printed spiders printing printed printers printing spider printers, or Rick and Morty more powerful than SCP Foundation Mad Scientist Battle for more.
Okay. If you say so. But a printing spider. Alright, we have one left. We have one left. What do I see? Dreams of the Firstborn. No idea what to say. But, yeah, interdimensional web spiders. Interesting. Does any lurker want to come out of the woodworks and commentate? This is your time to do so, or forever hold your peace. Thank you. Brain is weird. I'm not afraid of spiders. Fair enough. Yeah. Not afraid of spiders, huh? Helping hand. Did you hear something?
You were never afraid of the ocean.
I didn't.
Until it began seeping into your dreams every single night. As soon
After this video, I'm going to leave so I can get some rest. I have been getting very tired.
as your head hits the pillow, you're there in that terrible sunken city beneath the waves, the one that seems to swallow all light, where dark and unknowable things shift in the gloom. And every morning, you can still hear them whisper, "Come to the water, come to the water." This isn't a nightmare. It's SCP-4246, the dreams of the firstborn. And you're not the only one. Thousands of people have dreams like this every night. Most just brush it off. But others are captured by the impossible dream because they're hearing the briny voice of God giving them divine purpose to go to the water. Some of these people start cults based on these so-called prophetic visions. Many of them end up drowning as they try to accept the water's embrace. But why? Official records of the SCP-4246 phenomenon began back in Victorian London, a haven for mystical and occult thinking. The man who opened Pandora's box in this case was Joseph Adler, a high society cultist and leader of the Hermetic Order of Universal Wisdom. Adler became fascinated with his theory that the firstborns, his term for the supposed ancestral race that all of humanity was derived from, lived in some psychic domain beneath the sea, that they could interface with a handful of special dreamers while they slept. He devoted the latter part of his life to speaking with the dreamers and recording their prophetic visions about the great cities under the tides. And in 1920, he decided to use the occult knowledge he'd gathered to conduct a mass astral projection, essentially a psychic journey into the source of the dreamers. And that would be the worst mistake of his life. What they saw destroyed them in a number of ways. Some died of heart attacks immediately. Others went mad and died by each other's hands. Joseph Adler himself would survive for another year after the number of ways. Some died of heart attacks immediately. Others went mad and died by each other's hands. Joseph Adler himself would survive for another year
what's wrong with yours?
after the fact, but he lost his sight during the course of the projection. But in losing one sight, a Foundation researcher who interviewed him in Broadmoor Hospital found that he'd gained another. His brush with SCP-4246 had rendered the blind Adler a potent psychic, capable of immediately determining that the man interviewing him was from some outside force. After explaining his affinity for the depths, and the fact that his unknowable information is transmitted to him by some mysterious tendril, he said to the researcher, "I looked too far, beheld that which no man should ever see, horrors beyond conception. Beyond perception, I looked too far, and something did not appreciate my gaze. Compared to man, the firstborn were as gods. If they could not stop it, what chance have we?" Joseph Adler was found dead in his hospital room the next day. Among his personal effects were a map to what seemed like an uncharted island off in the middle of the ocean, Given the map was scrawled by a blind man, with little detail and no sense of proper scale, it was considered useless and sealed away in the Foundation's archives. It was later cross-referenced with another interesting discovery from a Foundation scientist named Dr. Charles Baker in the 1950s. He noticed that the psychic abilities of people infected by SCP-4246 seemed to have certain delays depending on the location they're being interviewed in. Dr. Baker looked into the matter and made a fascinating discovery. These people were not true psychics. They were having their psychic realizations transmuted to their brain from some extremely powerful outside source. And that source was in the ocean. That's where the map came back in. Within the next few years, Dr. Stefan Gartner began conducting a study of his own, instructing patients afflicted by SCP-4246 to engage in a form of art therapy. What they drew felt oddly familiar to a file they'd sealed away decades before. They were all drawing what seemed like fragments of a map, an island out in the ocean, each one privy to a fraction of the full piece. And when all the pieces were overlaid together with the Adler map, a new path to what may have been the source of SCP-4246 was suddenly clear. In his notes, Stefan wrote the ominous sentence, "As part of my research on SCP-4246-1, I introduced a copy of the map into my weekly interviews and asked if they recognized it. Their reactions range from suffocating dread to excitement bordering on euphoria. This is a world that haunts their dreams. But why? Why indeed?" When placed against tectonic maps, the new composite Adler map painted a better picture of where these anomalous thought transmitters might be located. It wasn't long before they found one of them in the Pacific Ocean, not far from Easter Island, and dispatched the advanced FSS Ammonite submarine to investigate firsthand. Of course, this would soon go about as well as Joseph Adler's attempt at mass astral projection. As the submarine approached the designated location, the crew began to report strange phenomena like headaches and an unexplainable sense of dread. The submarine's radar detected a large object somewhere down in the waters with it, presumably another submarine. But when they attempted to contact it, they received no reply. Instead, it disappeared from their radar reading. At this point, if they'd just been allowed to return to base, perhaps things wouldn't have escalated. Instead, they were instructed by their superiors to proceed. That's when the radar detected anomalous objects on the seafloor, which the searchlights revealed to be an astounding, impossible megalithic city on the seabed. It was a place of pure darkness, formed out of angles and geometries not present in any city constructed in human history. It was the most incredible breakthrough yet discovered in the SCP-4246 case. So naturally, things were about to get nightmarish. The submarine erupted into mutiny, with the crew members seeming to go insane and attack one another in a violent frenzy, damaging the submarine beyond repair in the process. It didn't take long for only one survivor to remain. The rescue mission was abandoned when Command heard the deranged voice of the surviving crew member in the sinking, doomed submarine warbling out the words, "The rest are dead. Only I remain." While they fought like fools, I saved my strength and bided my time. The last man left standing was near death when I approached. He has joined the others now. The gods speak to me. This isn't a tragedy. It's fate. The Guardian was made to protect their secrets. I have painted myself in the blood of the fallen. I, and I alone, am worthy. The tendrils coil around my heart. This is their love. Please, embrace me. The wreckage of the submarine was never found, nor was the city on the seabed that the Forsaken crew was supposed to have witnessed. However, despite the wreckage and the city being missing, the area didn't cease to be a powerful transmitter for the SCP-4246 phenomenon. When Foundation researchers took other infected individuals to the location, they all had powerful reactions, from lunatic rambling about the people taken, to the dreams, to inconsolable screaming fits. Another area of interest in the transmitting of these anomalous messages seemed to be a small historic church parish on an island near Denmark. It was where one of the cults had taken hold, and seemed to cause an abnormal amount of shipwrecks on the island's coast. Drowning seems almost to be the inevitable fate of someone indoctrinated to a certain degree. As the number of discovered transmission locations grew to 21, the Foundation began to feel concerned about just how wide-ranging the effects of this anomaly might be. Dr. Joan Henrich began to theorize that the locations were sites of dimensional instability, perhaps being manipulated from beyond our own reality. This was shown to have some weight to it, when specially modified Scranton reality anchors were deployed at the sites, causing the emergence of huge shapes made out of a seamless black material that remained for almost 2 minutes before the SRAs were somehow overpowered and destroyed. What was being dealt with here was extremely powerful. These interdimensional objects acted almost as nodes, powering a global network of psychic energy influencing humans en masse. But who was powering such a network, and to what end? The research team was next led to an abandoned research base in Antarctica by some unusual seismic activity. This base was run by the Anerherbe Obscuracorps, a branch of Nazi Germany, led to an abandoned research base in Antarctica by some unusual seismic activity. This base was run by the Anerherbe Obscuracorps, a branch of Nazi Germany tasked with locating and capturing anomalies to aid in Hitler's war effort. In true Nazi fashion, they had been obsessively researching what would later become the SCP-4246 case, believing that whoever was sending the transmissions were some kind of master race that they could ally with, in order to take advantage of their tremendous power. But based on the previous cases, you've likely already figured out how that went. The building was filled with spent shell casings and frozen corpses, suggesting that the Nazis in attendance had lost their minds in the process of being exposed to the signal, going mad and killing each other in the process. That's when the Foundation discovered why. A strange structure beneath the research base, seemingly made of the same seamless black material as the markers that emerged at each of the transmission points. Basic testing revealed the corrosive effect that this structure seemed to have on any human minds present, melding them together, causing thoughts and memories to overlap and succumb to the control of some terrible outside force. They found a journal from one of the Nazis once posted at the base, left inside the structure, showing log by log the maddening toll the place had taken on their minds. The last entry
We'll pick up from here when the end. I should have been doing this. Oh no. I might have been good. My I'm still going to. I will try to download and begin upload, but then I will sleep.
and killing each other in the process. That's when the Foundation discovered why. A strange structure beneath the research base, seemingly made of the same seamless black material as the markers that emerged at each of the transmission points. Basic testing revealed the corrosive effect that this structure seemed to have on any human minds present, melding them together, causing thoughts and memories to overlap and succumb to the control of some terrible outside force. They found a journal from one of the Nazis once posted at the base, left inside the structure, showing log by log the maddening toll the place had taken on their minds. The last entry in the journal read, "Plans have been set in motion. We will show them what the gods have shown us. The Black City is alive with light. How can they not see them? They will come to understand its beauty, but we cannot return. The Führer will taint it. Nobody can leave this frozen land alive." And evidently nobody did. But the Foundation soon discovered there was, in fact, something still alive here. It just wasn't human. Over the next decade, they continued to expand their search into the structure until they discovered something terrifying
Don't mess with
and
the cradle.
incredible. A structure
Fair
until
enough.
they discovered something terrifying and incredible. A giant brain. A brain so powerful, with such incredible, unimaginable psychic capabilities, that its emanating brainwaves may be the root cause of SCP-4246 worldwide, the nerve center of the network, powering every node and every infected individual all across the globe. Drawing on deep knowledge, the Foundation began to theorize that this brain and all the structures and mechanisms of SCP-4246 were actually the result of an ancient and incredibly advanced underwater species known as the Tethians. These beings lived for hundreds of millions of years, and their abilities and technology advanced to the extent that they were seemingly able to abandon their physical forms and exist as a kind of incredible hive mind. How else could they explain the lack of fossil evidence of these incredible creatures? Clearly, it seemed like the only way to find answers was to investigate direct communication, but a two-way conversation with the mother brain would be impossible with current human physiology. This was the logic that kicked off Project Awakened Dreamer. It took people who were already infected by the SCP-4246 phenomenon and surgically transformed them into something even more perfectly designed to receive and transmit the anomalous message. 250% mass increase of the pineal gland, a 400% mass increase of the cerebral cortex, and an estimated 1,200% as many neurons as the average adult human, and an increase in the size of the skull to accommodate the extra brain mass. In order to keep them stable, they remain in a highly confined state, given constant intravenous medication against the bevy of crippling health issues this sorry state has put them in. This led to a rather infamous experiment, where the psychological guardrails around one of these unfortunate subjects were removed. This allowed full communication with the brain beneath the Antarctic structure, with the subject saying, "I am lost among the tendrils, and no longer struggle for air, cold and numb, but comfortably so. I hear my mother. She calls me home, home. She sings to me, not songs of words or even sound, but light and color so brilliant. Home, home, back to the gardens of my ancestors. I am with my sisters. As long as we have each other, we can be safe, be silent, be simple and without light. The song grows dim, but there is security in the darkness. Be simple and without light, or the beast will find us." The resulting psychic blast caused every infected person in the world to experience a simultaneous seizure. All the Foundation staff within range were knocked unconscious and awoke with heads full of forbidden knowledge. The structure around the mother brain warped and shifted, reformatting into a new configuration as a result of the communication. It was a sign that nothing like this should ever be attempted again. But it did also give them the key to cracking this whole thing open, because it wasn't just all of the infected people across the globe who reacted. It was also every squid, octopus, and lesser across the globe who reacted. It was also every squid, octopus, and lesser-known cephalopod in the world. Private and public aquarium owners globally reported all their cephalopods acting strangely, all at the same time, facing in a peculiar direction, the direction of the mother brain in Antarctica. That's when they realized the Tethians didn't die out or disappear. They evolved into modern-day cephalopods. They've been here, right under our noses, the whole time, and they always would be. This is one of the few anomalies to be given the secondary class Archon, meaning it would simply cause more trouble to try to get rid of this phenomenon than to let it ride and just attempted to mitigate the damage. All the Foundation can do is suppress knowledge of the prophetic visions instilled by SCP-4246 to ensure that the dreamers never wake. For if they do, who knows what else is lurking down there in the depths, waiting to wake up too. Now check out a sea snail's fantasy, SCP-1867, a gentleman, or top 16 ocean SCPs that will terrify you, for more.
That is really not an evolution. That is more like a massive devolution. To each their own. Why though? That's why though? But why? Why? But why? What do you mean question mark? Sir, what do you mean question mark? Why? Why?
Why? Why?
The Hathigans ended up just being cephalopods? Like that's more of a devolution than an evolution. It's like, bruh. uh, okay. Oh. Well, I already know who I'm gonna raid. Like some cross Cthulhu stuff with the enemy of Baldur's Gate 3. Eh? 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 Mind flayers? Ah, okay. Well, I'm going to send you guys over to Erie because she is still alive, apparently. And she's playing with Rita, who is apparently stuck to her for some reason. Also, you have a fox stuck to you. Uh, You guys, anyone who is here and going to be active in the raid, you can send a normal version of the message if you want. But I'm personally sending that one because it's funny. So, anyone who's here, pick whichever. Pick whichever you like. Because it's funny. Well, turn on the background. This is gonna be interesting. And thank you guys for hanging out with me. Oh, we broke 50 followers! Nice! Yesterday, what? What? The Spectre Hollows person followed me yesterday? Oh. Oh, I forgot that I was sending them out. Well, goodbye!